Well, let's talk about being back in the coaching profession.
It's great, and it's obviously a special place here. We all know that. But the last 3 years, I wasn't able to be on the field. Being a baseball guy, usually that's the best part of the job. And so being back on the field, working alongside a really good friend of mine is pretty special, very unique. Something that, I've wanted to get back on the field for a while, but at the same time, I could be picky in my decisions. Didn't have to just jump back in there and be on the field.
Obviously, in a good situation with Boris, how do you come back to where you are now, and what kind of drew you to back in the profession, but also to Mississippi State? I know with your connections with Andy, that was a big draw too.
The Boris Corporation was an amazing opportunity. It was 3 great years, but I really missed being on the baseball field. Missed my coaching days. Being able to be a part of this with Andy here was a no-brainer for me and my family. So super excited to be back in, especially here at State.
How long did it take you to say yes to the offer?
10 seconds?
Why so long?
Exactly. Yeah, maybe a second actually. I've known him for a very long time and respect him more than just as a coach, as a man also, as a husband, as a dad. So I was very grateful and fortunate, and so when he asked me, it was a no-brainer.
While you were away from the game, did you ever converse with Andy about just what was going on with him, with baseball in general?
I was pretty in tune to the spring season. Talked to him a lot throughout the year. Would call him and we'd laugh about the success and how well they were doing, and I would call him a magician because I knew they were really banged up. It wasn't anything against the kids or the team, but I knew that there were some obstacles and they continued to win ball games, and you look up and they're 2 games away from the College World Series. And that was what was really neat for me because I know him so well at the end of the season when those guys took the podium after the last game and they talked about he's the best coach in the country and this is why. And I think if you start to really look into it, they love playing for him. They would run through the wall for him, and we're very similar people, probably similar philosophies, and there's a lot that goes into what he's doing. And so I thought it was very impressive that he was able to do or accomplish what they did in year 1, knowing that there was some setbacks.
Over the last 3 years or so, did you have some opportunities to get back on the field and turn them away?
I did, but because we had moved to my wife's hometown in Texas, and the Boris Corporation was an amazing gig for my career and my family, there was no rush to have to just jump back into college coaching. In a way, it sounds maybe arrogant, but you could be picky and you could wait on that perfect place. And for me, Mississippi State baseball was the perfect place, obviously because of the program, the history, the tradition. But one of my best friends was the guy leading the way, and it was an opportunity to come here and work alongside him. There's a lot of comfort there.
Related to that, when Kennesaw got the job at Mississippi State, did it ever cross your mind that maybe he might be contacting you eventually?
I think if you're human, you think about it. But out of respect for him and what he had going on, it was kind of one of those things where you think, hey, listen, he's never been a head coach. This is his first time to ever be a head coach. Obviously at a great place. A lot of stuff going on in his life. As we all know, it was a unique time, right? And started kind of November, late in the fall, or early winter, whatever that was. And so it crossed my mind, but I didn't really want to go there or bug him. And, you think if he ever calls, then obviously I'm interested. And so when he did call, literally, maybe it was 10 seconds, because I had to ask my wife if she wanted to leave Friendswood, Texas, but I knew this was where I needed to be.
Do you see any parallel between the way you can recruit, that maybe you can kind of, maybe your agent history has helped you?
Working with the Boris Corporation, great company. In my opinion, the best in the world at what they do, and they're looking for an elite type of talent. Okay, so over the last 3 years, although I wasn't coaching anymore, I was still recruiting. I was still evaluating. And for them, you're evaluating the best, the top, the elite players in the country. And so while that company was only looking for a certain type of player, it's no different here. We're looking for the best players in the country. Obviously, we'd like to keep the hometown boys home, start here, and then and spread out after that. But looking for the best players in the country with the Boris Corporation, looking for the best players in the country with Mississippi State, really no different. So kind of the same deal.
Does it help you also with just relationships between being an agent and now being a recruiter / coach?
So coaching, you develop a lot of relationships, whether it's select ball or high school coaches, just people in the game, scouts. Boris Corporation, those relationships kind of flourished even more over the years. I ended up talking to a lot of people that I didn't know back in my coaching days, met a lot of new people, and those relationships became stronger with those that I did know. So the Boris Corporation being a coast-to-coast kind of operation, although I was in Texas and Louisiana, I still was able to kind of recruit nationally, and being at Tulane previously, that was a national deal as well. So you have those national contacts after you do this for a while, kind of no matter where you are, but probably a little more working with the Boris Corporation.
Baseball recruiting is interesting in the fact that even after you get a commitment and a signee, you still have to recruit that player all the way until draft day and even on past that. How much does I know you and Andy both have your share of experience. You both played pro ball. He was a scout. You were an agent. How much does that help y'all in convincing kids to come to school and having a lower or attrition rate, I guess, than those kids that are going pro?
No doubt about it. It's the whole recruit them and then re-recruit them, or never stop recruiting them. You know what I mean? And it's not a fake thing. It's a real thing. But you have to continue to build that relationship. And while you're building that relationship, it's the education of the pro side, the college side, how the pro side is gonna work in their senior year of high school, or if they're a junior college student athlete. Just educating them on why we feel college baseball is the way, and him working with the Yankees, and obviously being in college coaching now, me working with the Boris Corporation, there's a lot of knowledge in regards to the pro side of things, and by no means am I knocking professional baseball, but there is something to be gained, I think, from working with the Yankees and the Boris Corporation and understanding how that industry works, and that helping to educate young student athletes. Sometimes you have the elite talents that you commit that are major draft risks, and sometimes they're just going to sign. There's probably a certain amount of money for that family that they're not going to turn down. At the same time, there is a way to educate families on how to feel comfortable with either going to college or saying, yeah, we understand, pro ball is the way to go. But I think as long as you continue to go after that top tier, that elite athlete, and you do your best in educating them and letting them know how the process will unfold, you put yourself in the best position to keep a lot of those guys and make sure they show up to college.
What kind of doors does just having Mississippi State and all the tradition, what kind of doors does that open on the recruiting trail now that you've been out there for a summer?
It's impressive, and by no means am I taking anything away from my previous coaching job, but we know about this program, what it's been now for over 30 years. We know about the league. There's been a lot of success here, and so when I first get in touch with a player, or a player gets in touch with me, that player immediately wants to come to Mississippi State, wants to come visit. They want to know about this program. People call me and feed me players, feed Coach Canizero players. A lot of people want to be a part of this. So it's pretty special when you answer the phone or you get somebody on the phone and they're all in now. It's different. It's definitely different. And it is an advantage, and I think when you're a part of something this special, you start to realize why it's so special to people. I've been here for about 8 weeks. I think I've been in the office a handful of times up until the last week, but the more that I'm around this university and this athletic program, I'm starting to understand why it's been the way, why they've had the success they've had now for over 30 years.
You and Andy both have extensive Louisiana ties. There's obviously a lot of good prep talent there. How do y'all balance taking the best out of Louisiana, but also a perceived pressure to keep some of the best guys in this state here?
Right. Well, obviously, like I said, you want to keep the best players home in our state, okay? But if there's good players in Louisiana, we're going to try to get them as well. If they're in Texas, we're going to go there too. Wherever there's good players, we're going to try to be there. I think you have to have a feel and understanding of the country and where guys are going to end up. But just because somebody may be far away from home or far away from Mississippi State doesn't mean that they don't want to come here. And so I think it's kind of that relentless pursuit, as Coach Canizero would say, to grind it out every single day on the recruiting trail, and never assume that somebody doesn't want to be a part of this. Make them tell you no, kind of one of those deals. But if they're in our region, we're going to go try to find them.
And the other expertise that you kind of bring as a former player, what are you seeing from some of the players that you're inheriting, and what's kind of your early thoughts heading into fall ball of what is coming back for this team next year?
Today was our second day of individual workouts, our 4-on-1s. The last 2 days have been very refreshing, I think is a good word. This league and this program, I understand it's a different type of talent, and that's been very, very obvious in the first 2 days. Kids are a little more physical, a little more polished, have a better understanding of what they're doing, what their body's doing. It's a whole different feel. So the first 2 days have been very encouraging. It's been a lot of batting practice and things like that. So obviously no games yet, but if you know what you're looking for, it seems like we have the right guys in place.
Do you have an update on y'all's fall ball and how that's going to go with the construction and things like that? Or do you know where y'all will be or what the update is on the field?
Kind of. It's still kind of a work in progress. I know that starting here pretty soon we will have a surface, okay, and we will start fall practice, I believe, October 9th. So we will have a surface to get in inter squads, whatever we need to do. At the same time, obviously, we have the Palmero Center, which is where we're doing most of our day-to-day stuff right now with the hitters. We may do some off-campus stuff, maybe a 3-game set off-campus for some inter squads, some kind of a fall ball World Series. Those things are still in the works, but that's kind of the idea. So Coach Canizero knows more about that stuff than I do, but I think that's the idea. We're going to have a field to play on. It may be a little bit challenging, but hey, after what they went through last year, I think these guys can get through it this fall, you know, so we'll know more as we go.